Top portfolio mistakes that make studios ignore 3D artists. Your dream studio isn't rejecting you because you lack talent. They're ignoring you because your portfolio is making these costly mistakes. What we'll talk about in this video, the top mistakes that turn off recruiters and studios, and what to do instead so your work finally gets noticed. Who am I? My name is Dwayne Elahie. I'm a CG Supervisor in the industry for 20 plus years, been mentoring for 15 plus years, hundreds of students, some of which have 70K plus in salary. I've worked and been at these studios, EA, Electronic Arts, Industrial Lights and Magic, ILM, Pixar, Disney, to name a few, Sony ImageWorks, for example, as well. We haven't met yet, but you've met my work. Netflix, The Witcher, The Little Prince, also James Cameron's Avatar. I was also the rigging CG supervisor, character supervisor for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem, been on the Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs franchise. You may have seen these films and TV shows. K-pop Demon Hunters, that's currently #1 on Netflix. I made a lot of the tools that they still use today. Same thing for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs series. Been the character CG supervisor for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Mutant Mayhem. And been on Netflix series The Witcher, work with Disney and Marvel for Secret Invasion. Also Iron Man, James Cameron's Avatar, the Hunger Games series, Predators, many other things. You could check out the rest on my IMDb page here. So let's talk about the top 3 mistakes. Mistake number 1, artists put a lot of quantity over quality. If you flood your portfolio with every project you've ever done, this makes you look unfocused. Studios want a handful of strong work, polished pieces, and not filler. Basically, if you're applying for a studio, you'll see how the job description, if they're asking for a modeler, you want to show your modeling work. Depends what kind of modeling they're doing. If they're doing VFX, probably want to show creatures, realistic, high frequency, high detail work. If you're doing it for a mobile game, you probably want to show low poly models. So you basically want to showcase what they're looking for, right? What if you do multiple things? What I would suggest is you actually group them into sections or tag them. Like, for example, let's say you're a character artist and some studios require you to model, rig, and animate and sculpt. Maybe not animate, maybe rig, for example. So you might have a section that you make for that studio, or studios like that want that type of profile, and you put all the work related to that. You might have your modeling, and then your sculpting, and then the rigging, so you could actually articulate the character. Some studios might not want the rigging, so you might not show that. So you might group them. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to make different work for it. You might already have those type of things. You just might group them together to showcase what they're looking for. The second mistake, no process shown. So just showing the final render isn't enough because you don't know what you're actually seeing and what's the purpose and how you got there. So you want to show the breakdowns of and explain what you see. You want to show the wireframe, how it's made. It's going to matter because if you're trying to do this for a AAA game, your poly count and your wireframe, your topology is going to matter. So they want to see that. If it's going to be different, again, if you're doing, let's say, a mobile game, you want lower poly counts, but what can you do with that limitation? If you're going to do it even for VFX, where the final render might be, or the final character might be super high detail, we want to see how efficient your wireframe is for articulation. Just having a pose doesn't necessarily mean it's great. And also you want to have notes on your role and contribution to the piece that you're showing. So if it's a personal piece, most likely you did everything. So you mentioned you do everything. A lot of times once you start working in the industry, people's portfolio is just the shot in let's say a VFX movie or a feature animation movie or in a game. Most likely you haven't done everything in the shot. There's probably a lot of things contributing to the shot. It might be animators in there. It might be simulation. It might be grooming and hair. So there's a lot of things that could be part of that. Rigging, modeling, sculpting. So you want to mention in the notes, if you're showing a shot, what have you contributed? What did you do in that shot? And explain the impact of that as well. Basically, recruiters want to see how you think, how you work. your contribution to the final result as well. And the third thing, of portfolio mistakes, weak presentation. So even if you have great art, it could look amateur if it's poorly lit, poorly rendered, displayed on a cluttered site where there's so many other things, is not showcasing what you want to see there. Instead, make sure it's clean, it's focused, professional presentation. This is non-negotiable. It's kind of the same thing as if you're doing a resume. You could have done a lot of great things, a lot of experience, a lot of great projects on there, but if you just throw everything, let's say, on a notepad and you don't even format it, and then you just email it to a recruiter, they're not even going to look at that, right? Same thing with this, or same thing with anything. I mean, if you go to a store and you're going to buy a product and it's not packaged well, you don't see the art, it doesn't look appealing, the box, the packaging, the presentation doesn't look appealing, most likely you're not going to pick it up, especially if it's on a shelf with many other competing products. You want to put your best foot forward. Quick heads up for all you 3D artists watching this. If you've been grinding away at tutorials and YouTube videos but still feel stuck, I've got something special for you. I'm hosting a 3D character rapid bootcamp workshop where I'll walk you step by step through the exact skills studios actually hire for. It's not theory. This is the stuff that got me hired and working in the industry. If you want to finally build a portfolio that gets callbacks and interviews, hit the link below and grab your spot. Seats are limited, so if you're serious about going pro, this is your chance. So to recap, most artists fail because they overload with weak work. They just put too much of everything on there and it doesn't really showcase their strongest skill. You just want to show, if you have 10 projects and they're not all great, show your best one. One of them is better than 10 mediocre ones, right? They also hide the process. You don't know what they've done for the project. So you have to explain what they're looking at and why it's important and how it relates to the job description or the role that they want for that studio or the recruiter or even freelance work, right? And present poorly. So you could have a great model, but if it's lit poorly, for example, you can't see the left side of the character or the right side because of the poor lighting. You can't tell how great the work is, right? Basically, you fix these and your portfolio instantly rises above the crowd. If you notice, a lot of the top people, their presentation is what makes it look really, really great, even if the character is even low poly or very, very basic, but the presentation makes it way more appealing. Whereas someone could be really, really great at sculpting, but don't know how to light or present their work, it might not get noticed. So you really want to make sure you put a lot of work in your presentation. For the next step, what I want you to do is audit your portfolio today. Cut out the fluff. If it's not adding or presenting you in the best light, take it out. Update at least one project with at least a proper breakdown. So you show the project, present it pretty well, and explain what you've done in it and how it would impact you and your thought process. Make sure your site is easy to navigate. So when you go on it, it's very clear, okay, I want to see your portfolio. If you're applying for modeling, you have a modeling section. And if you have, let's say, low poly models, it's easy to see. If you're doing high poly or if you're doing sculpting, you want to be able to find that easily. And bonus tip, tailor your portfolio to the studio role you want. So if you're a focused environment artist, portfolio, right, basically showing environment work on models is going to beat someone who's a jack of all trades, where you should come in and the role is, okay, I want an environment artist, and you're showing animation and you're showing like a whole bunch of other things, let's say simulations or hair, grooming, but they don't care. They want to see environment artists. That's what they're looking for. So showcase that. Again, you can make a section and put together what the job description is looking for and just present that part. And that's what you could do here. You can make categories, make a page on a website, and group related work specific for the role to make that happen. So again, the biggest mistake to avoid, do not copy your portfolio that you see that's online without adding your voice, your style to it. If your work blends into everyone else, the studios will just scroll right past it, right? Your work should stand out as your unique touch, what you bring into it. So as always, what are your thoughts? What's your experience creating portfolios? And where are you having trouble? Share your comments in below.